folks. It is the NFC South Bound and Down podcast. It must be Wednesday night. It must be 3 after 10 o'clock. I'm glad to be here with my fellas representing a sluggish NFC South. Say hello, guys.
What up, yo?
How's it going?
Oh, come on. Yes, you are. Greg, don't be the only non-foolish one.
All right. I'm Greg Barber. You can contact me at IntenseGB on Twitter. You know, definitely. Like I said, I'm up for talking about anything: football, wrestling, whatever you got. I'm good to go. Anyway, I represent the New Orleans Saints, and definitely always hit me up.
All right, moving from left to right.
So is that Joe or is that me?
No, come on, guys.
That's Scott.
Taking a nap over there.
That's right. Yeah, that's you, Scott.
What?
All right, well, I'm Scott Karasik. I write for Bleacher Report, and I write for Draft Falcons about the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, break into this podcast, Joe.
All right, I'm the freaking Puerto Rican, and if you don't like it, I don't give a crap. I'm on Twitter at Joe Riolano, and I'm repping the Panthers, giving mad love to the black and blue Panther crew.
All right, well done. All right, this is Tony Dunn, a.k.a. the Professor from Carolina Cat Chronicles, and I guess we were trying to get a guest in. We thought we had the Tampa Bay rep. We will practice more next week. I'm sure there'll be something else I'll screw up on the sideline. So let's go ahead and we'll talk the least amount about the Saints today, and we'll start with. You want to start with Scott and the most depressing show on earth? I tuned in.
Just because I was ripping the players doesn't mean that it was depressing. It just means that I was frustrated.
Okay.
The Falcons suck major donkey balls right now, especially on defense, especially on the offensive line. I'm gonna go ahead and put my prediction in right now. Atlanta's gonna lose this week. 35-12, because I don't see a way they score a touchdown on that defense.
Wow.
Are they playing Seattle?
No, Baltimore. But Atlanta doesn't have any pass protection, and Baltimore has pass rushers. So,
Yes, they do.
That's the formula you need to beat Atlanta. If you have one pass rusher, you're going to win. They have 3, so they're going to destroy. And they've got Steve Smith, who always goes off for like 140 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Falcons, which hopefully is the last time Atlanta ever has to see him.
Scott, let me ask you this: if they have one pass rusher and they can beat you, is that one more pass rusher than the Atlanta Falcons have on their defense?
The Atlanta Falcons have one pass rusher on their defense. His name's Jonathan Massaquoi, and they don't play him enough. And even then, he's like a number 2, like a OC in his prime type. He's not a number 1, he's not John Abraham or anything.
Guys, I want to tell you a little story. Yesterday, I tuned in to Draft Central. Tell me the name of it again.
It's Falcon Central Radio.
Falcon Central Radio, all right? And there's this, what was it, like Ava Mendez looking girl on this radio show. She,
her name is Jess Kleinschmidt. She's a half Filipino, half German girl who's brilliant about baseball and knows the Ravens really well. I don't know what else she knows about the NFL, but I know she knows the Ravens extremely well because that's her team. And I mean, she was like, "It's kind of depressing. You guys need to be nicer to your players." And I'm like, They need to be nicer to us and start winning games. At least competing.
No, guys.
Like if Atlanta lost every game by 3 points, I'd be okay with it.
Scott is not reporting
Hey,
this.
win.
He is not reporting this the way I saw it, fellas. This is what I saw. I rolled up into. I was up late. I was watching it, and so I tune in. I see this beautiful girl talking sports and stuff like that. She's like excited to be there. She could have been like on Sports Center or something. I felt like, and there is Scott and his buddy, and they're like, "God, the Falcons are terrible." I mean, they couldn't even be cheered up by having this beautiful guest on their show. They were so down about the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
That's how terrible they are. Let me ask you this, Scott. I pulled up the headlines, and the Giants dude, OC Umenyiora.
Umenyiora.
Yeah. All right. So I just peeked onto Bleacher Report and saw this, and it was like on ABC.com or something. And he had a meltdown. It says that he had a meltdown and like he ripped his helmet straps off. And he said, well, it was a critical situation. I felt like I could have helped. And then he went on and said that the coaches have a plan, and whatever that is that they asked me to do, I have to do a better job of controlling my emotions. How bad is that? Like, what's up with that? Tell us, what do you think about that story going on?
OC's being a baby because he got pulled out because he hasn't been able to generate pressure on the left side of the field. That's all it is. And then Atlanta made a stupid call with their soft-ass zone in the red zone. I mean, really, you have Warlow drop back into a center zone, and then you have guys dropping back into 10-yard zones when you're on the 6. Does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
Into zones? No.
Into 10-yard zones.
That doesn't make any
Like
sense.
5 and 4-yard zones, that makes sense. But 10-yard zones?
Yeah.
Touchdown.
They had 6 guys dropping back into 10-yard zones. They had 2 guys dropping back. Right there, it should send up red flags. That's about 2 more guys than what you should be sending into zones in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But they had 2 more guys dropping into mid zones in the middle. And then they had 3 guys rushing the passer. And the 3 guys were Jonathan Massaquoi, who beat his man, my good friend, my boy, if you will, Malachi Goodman, and then Paul Soliai in the middle, who as a pass rusher is not a pass rusher.
So you just lost all hope at this point.
At this point, until the Falcons prove that they can win a game that's not against the Buccaneers or the Saints, I'm not going to believe that they can win a game unless it's against the Buccaneers or the Saints.
Well, you got lucky against the Saints, so don't be sitting there bragging there, pal.
Oh, it's not even getting lucky. Atlanta always plays the
Let's
Saints.
not even sit there and start bragging. Don't get too high and mighty there.
Let's be honest here. Atlanta and the Saints always play close. They always
do play
destroy
close.
each other.
They do play close. Don't deny that.
That's why I always think Atlanta could be 1-15, and the Saints could be 15-1 in that one specific year. But I can guarantee you that one loss was a 3-pointer to Atlanta that year.
Yeah, much like the Falcons, if they go 15-1 at one point, at 3 pointers, probably about to the Saints.
Yeah, exactly. That one loss will be to the Saints. Like it is how it is. That's how the teams play each other. It's like Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, FSU.
Yeah, you're right.
Miami and Florida State.
All right, I just don't want you to be swelling your head because you got that one win there,
I'm not saying it's an easy win. I'm saying it's an easy
say that. You know that.
And I do think that they
gonna
can
let
beat
them
the
savor it.
Panthers because I don't think the Panthers are that good. If you want the honest to God's truth.
Don't bring us into this because you don't want to
Winner
bring
of the division is going to be
this.
7-9 or 7-8-1.
Oh, look, we tied.
That's the honest to God's truth.
We tied a team that blew y'all out.
They didn't blow us out. It was 24-10.
That's well. All right. So this was all right. Joey, did you get a chance to tune into Pirate Radio this past week when I was on?
I did.
All right. Do you remember when I said Jay Cutler? This is when Jay Cutler is going to be. He's going to be. This is going to be that one time where he's not Jay Cutler because we're all starting to believe that he is that dude that can't bounce back or whatever. And he had a hell of a game.
He
He
did.
threw
Yeah.
381 yards on Atlanta. 26 for 38 was his completion. I mean, that was a pretty solid game by him. Scott, how is he
That
able
was
to?
still a season low for the Falcons in yards given up to a passer.
Gee.
Oh, damn.
I know you're not bragging
Oh, boy.
about that.
Somebody look at the sunshine. Good Lord.
No, it
Somebody
really
look at
was
the
a bad.
sunshine.
It really was not the season low, honestly. Eli had the season low last week. Atlanta can't get any turnovers. Atlanta can't get any sacks. And without those, a Mike Nolan defense is useless.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, Jay Cutler looked great. And he's got hit 3 times by Massaquoi, and he got his, for use of a better word, I'm going to be a little graphic here, he got his dick drug in the dirt.
Dang.
A couple of pass rushers. He
Is-
kept
what-
getting hit all day. That's come on, Joe. Like you haven't heard that around Charleston.
Oh, I'm not saying anything.
Just the look on your face is like, huh?
Yeah, I deny that I ever used that statement.
It just sounds terrible.
It does.
Like it's very understandable.
Yeah.
You can understand the meaning of it.
Yes.
Yeah, you just don't want that body part in the
You
dirt.
didn't understand the meaning of it. He was on the ground for so long that they were dragging him around by his genitals.
No, I
That's what
get
it
it.
means.
I get it.
Like-
Oh, we all get it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the one thing Atlanta's done that to a passer all year.
How can you guys? I mean, is Mike Smith and the GM gonna survive all this stuff? Because
The
this
GM?
is 2 years.
The
To,
Another 4-4-12 season. Will they survive
Yeah.
that?
The GM, maybe.
See, I have
Mike
some
Smith,
thoughts
Mike
on that.
Nolan, probably gone. Dirk Cutter, knowing the way this team works, he'll get promoted. Or
Brandon,
they'll
tell us what
bring
you
in
think
Hugh
about
Jackson
that.
and they'll keep Cutter to run the offense.
Now, at first, for a long time, I said Mike Smith has done probably the best job as a coach there so far over the last few years. Probably to me since Dan Reeves, overall. You know what I mean?
Probably the best coach the Falcons have ever had.
Huh?
He's probably the best coach the Falcons have ever had.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that in a sense. But at this point right now, like last year, you thought it was an anomaly. You know what I mean? You figured the injuries, the depth. They just didn't have enough depth last year to sustain, and they lose out. This year, they had the same shot to kind of correct those mistakes, and those mistakes are not corrected at all.
Well, it's
gotta
the injuries along the offensive line, too.
Yeah. I know. You're right. Yep, you're right.
Mike Johnson,
Yep.
Bill Hawley,
Yeah.
and Lamar Holmes, who was finally looking like a good pass protector.
Yeah, but I mean, what I got a feeling is that you could tell from what I'm hearing from what Arthur Blank is saying in there, especially when he says we're going to wait to the end of the season. It's on the table to get him out, to get them out of there, get him and Dimitrov out of there. It's definitely on the table to get them out of there. Because if you stood behind your coach, if you were behind him, you say right then and there, no, we're going to work this out and get this straightened out one way or another. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I've seen owners do that too. At the same time, right off the bat, defend them, and then fire them right after the season's over. You know what I mean? But I think he's sending the message to Mike Smith that if you don't get this straight, you got problems, pal.
Well,
It's the worst kept secret right now around the NFL. I've had multiple scouts tell me if the Falcons don't make it to the playoffs this year, people have already been like, well, Mike Smith would be a good defensive line coach for us.
Yeah, I agree. He gets a job.
Linebacker coach for us is what teams are saying right now.
Right.
Yeah.
The point being, not a head coach.
Right.
The point being, they're expecting him to get fired if the Falcons don't make the playoffs.
Well, see, and you know what it is too. The one thing that hit me about that, you remember Jerry Glanville, right? Jerry Glanville, Glanville, and Mike Smith is beginning to look more like Jerry Glanville in my eyes, and I'll tell you why. Because Glanville to me was a pretty decent coach. He could take a team that was pretty much in the crapper and bring them up to a respectable level. He'll make them, he'll get them to the playoffs. He'll get them competing there for a bit, but then after a while, he can only carry them so far. You know what I mean? And then he got to be moved. You got to move him on and bring another coach in to kind of get them over the top. You know, and I think, and number two, I think they're not scared, the players are not scared of Mike Smith. You know what I mean?
To be fair, no one's ever scared of Mike Smith.
Huh?
No one's ever scared of Mike Smith.
Right. But see, what I'm saying is that he's sitting on, he has this tough talk on the podium that, you know, if he basically trying to say, I got to bench players, I got to do this and do that. The truth is, you're pinned in a corner. You got players who are hurt. You got other players who can't step up or who really can't match up. So if a guy is not playing well, he still is not really under a serious threat to get benched for somebody else because the other guy's going to suck and he's going to be back in there anyway. Mm-hmm. So the truth is he's got a fake hammer in his hand. He can't put the hammer on anybody. You know what I mean? So the problem is that the players can play like crap for the rest of the year, and they're safe at least for now. You know, but they know that they can't be benched and they can't. You know, you really can't. He can cut them. You know, but.
You know what this sounds like to me is, Joey, and to relate this to our team, the Carolina Panthers, is that sometimes it doesn't matter how good a coach is that sometimes there's a need for freshness in an organization or something like that.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Kind of like with John Fox, is that John Fox was the best coach in Panthers history.
Yes.
And probably you could say this, is that if we stuck with John Fox for the next 20 years, we would be strong. We would know what we would get, at least. Mm-hmm. But every now and then you've got to reinvigorate. It's like when you go to a conference at work or something, and it gets you excited, generates buzz and excitement. You know, so I think that at this point with the Falcons, you know, it might be time for that to happen. And sucks that Mike Smith's got to be the one. I think that Dimitrov dude is such a flashy kind of character.
Yeah, I agree.
They're probably both gone, honestly.
But yeah, but I
probably both gone, and I think Atlanta would promote either from within with Lionel Vital, who people have tried to poach multiple times.
Is he related to Dick Vitale?
No.
Okay.
He might need just fresh blood in there. He could go two ways. Number one, he can get rid of a lot of players and bring in new players. You know what I mean? And that'll bring that freshness back because that might, you know, people might those guys who come in might respect Smith more. Or he can keep the same players he got, or a lot of the same players, and bring in a new coach. You know what I mean? That will come in with different expectations and will work differently.
But, you know, I think they need to bring in Rex Ryan as the defensive coordinator. I think Hugh Jackson needs to be the head coach.
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting fired. He's getting fired from the Jets, and somebody's going to pick him up as a defense coordinator. You ain't even got to worry about that. Somebody's going to get him.
Scott.
Let's put it this way. Arthur Blank is a multi-billionaire, and he still owns half of Home Depot.
Yes.
I'm sure he's got more than enough money to pay for Rex Ryan.
Yes, he will.
I want to ask you something. Okay, at this point, we're in week 6, going into week 7, I guess. Is there any way that this Falcons team can get better?
Yeah, play defensive players in the right spots. Play Jonathan Massaquoi a shit ton more.
Okay.
I think I wrote an article earlier.
I think you.
I didn't think. No, I didn't.
You said the same thing to me, I guess maybe 3 weeks ago, about playing the right people at the right positions, not playing Cord Learman when he's playing. I mean, it must have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you're repeating this with me again, and they haven't done it,
they haven't done it because they don't seem to understand the logic of let's play the younger, fresher players for the most snaps. Let's play Jonathan Massaquoi 70% of the snaps, because when OC and Bierman are fresh, they look like good pass rushers. But when OC and Bierman aren't fresh, because they're playing against the run too much, they look awful.
Yep, they wear down.
Like a simple, logical thought.
Well, the other one is.
The coaches don't fucking get it.
Well, let me tell you.
What you asking, Joey, is why haven't these coaches, like Scott saying at the end, gotten that yet?
Right. Why? What I'm saying is
because they're stubborn as shit.
Exactly.
And you know their jobs are on the line.
They have a
And they're
tendency to
playing
be
the veterans that they think are going to be the starting and the better players without playing the more athletic players who aren't going to get beat to the edge, without playing a true 4-3, without having the proper guys play the most snaps. Don't put in Paul Soliai for 60% of the snaps. It's not working. Take him out on passing downs and put in Rashid Hageman in the same spot. Hageman was creating pressure all first half and then didn't see another snap for the rest of the game.
Really?
Like, what the hell? That didn't even make sense. He was doing his job, and then they pull him out. And then Corey Peters is like the lost man when he should be seeing about 60 to 70% of the snaps as a 3-tech.
So you're telling me they've thrown the towel in. I'm talking about the coaches because they're not making adjustments that are going to improve this team, and the team is going to keep stumbling. So they've thrown the towel in.
Coaches are stupid.
It's
that simple. They're just being stupid and stubborn.
Okay, and I'll tell you something else they're being stubborn on. Anton Smith is another player. That's a walking touchdown. That's a walking touchdown right there. I mean,
you know who he could look like?
Huh?
You know who he could look like? 2009, 2010 Chris Johnson.
Easily.
That's who he could be.
Easily. That dude should be out. I said it in the preseason. I said it several times, and I said this to Candy, Love Me Falcons. I said, I can't understand how y'all don't never play that dude. I would have him out there all day long. If you put him on another team, that dude playing. And I mean, he playing a lot.
The only thing that I would say is they don't trust his pass blocking. So that I say, I trust him more as a play action option. And if he's sitting there in the flat, teams respect the hell out of that. Especially if you run a lot of screen passes, they're going to start running more of a contained pass rush because they don't want to get beat by that.
Mm-hmm.
When they do that much rush, that contain rush, you're not going to have to worry about it.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, they can concepts with coaches that don't understand play a defensive end to defensive end, and I hate this coaching staff. I hate this coaching staff.
He's a walking touchdown, man. He's a walking touchdown. I can't understand how in the hell he's not playing more.
I have to agree. I don't understand how you can't play him. Every time I've seen him touch the ball this year,
it's a touchdown. It's a freaking touchdown.
Yeah.
Every time.
I mean, let's put it. 1 out of every 5 touches that he gets has gone to the end zone.
Yes.
And he's got over like 400 yards, and he's got damn near 400 yards on like 15 touches total.
That's good enough for me.
It's ridiculous.
All day long. Which means if you let him touch it 20 times.
Exactly. That's 5 touchdowns.
You probably
put it this way. He has 23 touches. He has 23 touches all season. All season.
How many touchdowns does he have?
15 touches a game. Because that's still like the idea of giving Steven Jackson 4 or 5 touches. That's still like the idea of giving Jacquizz Rodgers, 6 or 7 touches. And giving Freeman 5 or 6 touches.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Let me get this right. Now you got a guy who's a walking touchdown. Who the minute he gets the ball, he's gone. And then you're in the end zone by the time you let the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get a ball to anybody else? I don't think so.
Okay, let's put it this way. I'm not putting in Anton Smith on a 3rd and 1.
I get that, but if you got
I'm not putting in Anton Smith on a 1st and 10 after he just ran for 25 yards.
I get that too, but okay. How about
I'm gonna let him have a breather.
I'm
gonna rotate in Devontae Freeman to develop him into a real running back.
But what I'm saying is that what are the chances are that if you got a guy who can get 25 yards on one carry, you'll never see a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, that's true too.
Very true. If a guy's getting 25 yards on 1 carry, that's great. But how about
Yeah,
those
you
first two
Let
carries
me
when he
end
gets
this
4 and 4?
Let me end this conversation with this point. Why would you keep a guy on the sidelines for not being able to pass block when all the guys on the field can't pass block either?
exactly. Yeah, I know. Cause y'all got a whole offensive line y'all could fire, not pass blocking.
I mean, it's not like it's a liability when they're getting to the quarterback every time as it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how people don't understand. Well, sorry, by people I mean offensive coordinators don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that if you run a decent screen game and it's working,
Yes.
they can't pin their ears back the way teams are. But
There's
if you
no
run the damn
pass
ball,
rush. Yeah.
they're
No.
not going to pin their ears back.
Yeah.
Even
Nope.
if you
Because
just
they
run it more, whether it's effective or not, just run more runs. Like Antone Smith to the left side, Antone Smith to the right side, Steven Jackson up the middle,
Yep.
Jacqueline Rogers up the middle, Devontae Freeman up the middle. Run 5 runs a quarter, 20 plays of your 70 that you play all day. Just call
Yeah.
20 runs. Run a reverse or 2 here and there as well.
Yeah,
20
absolutely.
runs.
And that just gets.
That's all it takes to get a defense to pull back a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Run 8 or
Yeah,
9
because
just ugh.
But when
even
you
if they
do
sniff
it,
Let me pose another.
work.
I want to pose a question to y'all,
Sure.
related to a team that has shook stuff up in this past year, and people expected a lot from them. And this is a tweet from, who is this even from? I have it up on my
That's
notes.
one lane.
Jenna Lane's
Jenna
box.
Lane from the back.
Jenna Lane Bucks, and this was from December, and she said that Warren Sapp told Sean McCoy that you got to
Gerald McCoy.
Gerald McCoy, that you got an opportunity to do it once. What are you going to do with it? And this was motivation. And then Sapp comes out today and
Yep.
says that he wanted to puke because
Yes.
of Gerald McCoy. So my question is this: is that going to serve as motivation for Gerald McCoy,
He wanted,
like
he
it
wanted
did
to,
in December?
let me
What
clarify
is?
that because I heard that today
Tell
too on
us.
Buck Radio.
Tell us what's going on there.
He wanted to clarify the reason why he wanted to puke about Gerald McCoy is because he picked up the other team's running back. He gave him a hand up when he basically tackled him. The guy was down on the ground. McCoy helped him up. I think he helped up an offensive lineman too in the game. And of course Warren Sapp we're not doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. And basically he said he wanted to puke because of the fact that he was being too nice on the field. And myself, I was like, okay, you getting your ass whooped 40 points to 40 to nothing. You know what I mean? You 38 nothing, and you ain't got out the damn dressing room yet. And you worried about him because he's picking up an offensive lineman. I think there are bigger worries to me than whether he helped the offensive lineman or the other team up or a running back. I get his point, but I just think that's low hanging fruit, low on the list compared to like the glaring weaknesses they showed against the Ravens. Because I saw that game too, just like I saw the Atlanta game, and that was just pitiful. That was a straight beatdown.
Is this even surprising about Warren Sapp?
No, not at all. No, the stories I've heard about Warren Sapp here.
Yeah.
No.
He wants everybody to play like him, and he thinks he's the most awesome thing ever. I mean, he was good, but he wants everybody to be like him. And you just expect him to say something like this. But he also said in the same conversation that that the Tampa 2 was not the issue. I mean, it's not the scheme, but it was the personnel.
Yes.
Yeah, because they don't have 2 good outside rushers. They've only
Right.
got 1 good inside rusher, and they don't have a solid nose that can perform
No,
well.
they don't.
I mean, the issue
don't.
the issue there, and their middle linebacker right now, Mason Foster, he's injured.
It's hurt. Yeah, he's out.
And they don't have the leadership that they're missing with Foster out there.
Well,
Foster
I tell you
is a
something else they
vocal
don't have.
guy.
Yep. And something else they don't have.
Foster's that captain.
Go ahead.
Not
I'm sorry.
not anybody else on that defense, like the real vocal captain, and that's why he's middle linebacker. It's not because he can drop back well and do all the things that he needs to do. He can definitely do that, but he is that vocal leader in the middle of
Yeah,
that
he's the
defense.
quarterback. He's like one of the quarterbacks there.
I guarantee you, with Mason Foster out there, it's a completely different defense. That being said, Clint McDonald sucks. Akeem Spence sucks.
Yes, they do.
Daquan Powers sucks. They need some defensive tackles in the worst way to complement them. They need an edge rusher that's not William Golston, who's awful, who can actually complement and basically be the primary rusher instead of Michael Johnson. And they need Michael Johnson to get healthy because he's been fighting injuries all year.
Right.
I'm with you there. But they don't. Another thing, I told you about this the other day. They got heart. No heart.
That's every issue on that defense to a T. You know what they really need? They really need to go out and get Randy Gregory with one of their top picks. That'd be the perfect fit for them. Then in the second round, they need to get a guy who can eat a double team as a nose tackle. That'd be
you need so. They totally need that.
Okay, with them struggling, with Atlanta in the dumps, Carolina tied this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, against what was everybody thought was a tough team. And I'm sure Scott's going to say they're not that tough right now because the Panthers did all right against them. But it couldn't have really gone better for the Saints other than the Panthers losing. Joey, do you think that the Panthers, who are in the lead for this, for the division right now, can hang on to it?
I think the Panthers can hang on to it. Yeah, I think they can. They just...
Will they? How about that? Will they?
Will they? I think we're going to know after 2 weeks. The reason I say that is because they got a real test coming up these next 2 weeks. You got the Packers and you got the Seahawks. And depending on what they do with those 2 games will tell us how the rest of the season will unfold.
Yeah, because then we got to play the Saints.
On a Thursday night.
And so right now, this is a good battle in the division. Well, it's not a good battle. The Panthers are winning this division with not even doing that well. So I think, what if we can catch our sea legs a little bit and weather through this storm? Maybe that matchup in prime time against the Saints would be a statement moment for the team. Greg, do you think when we get to that matchup that's going to, like, the winner of that get enough momentum to pull out the division? Like, if it's almost like we're in a stretch of a horse race, and you can either pass the guy or you're going to get jumbled up in traffic.
Right.
The Saints have Detroit next week in Detroit, and they play Green Bay next, and I think it's Carolina the third game. So we got that tough stretch too as well. And the Green Bay game is at home, and I think Carolina and Detroit are both on the road. So the key is for the Saints right here. They got and I think Calvin Johnson may not be playing this week. I don't know for sure, but if he's not playing this week, that helps the Saints a lot.
Sure.
That helps the Saints a lot in that game. But overall, I think they can if they ironed out a few of the kinks. I think they can win this game against Detroit because Detroit will play well 1 week, and the next week you don't know who the hell they are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Calvin's not playing this week.
Yeah, I didn't think so either because I remember he made a statement. I saw he made a statement that said that he was that he won't play until he feels great. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with him not feeling great this week.
I don't think he's going to feel too great in London either. I don't know if he plays against Atlanta and London. I think he's just going to London.
Probably.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
But overall, I think they could beat Detroit because like I said, Detroit kind of Jekyll and Hyde. Green Bay, they got Green Bay at home. That's a really good shot that they could pull that one out. Now the one in Carolina, that's going to be a battle because you're right. That's probably the battle right there for first place. That's going to be a strong battle for first place. And the fact that you guys had that half a game, it can work either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That half the game just is hinky in one way or another. We can't, you know, it can hurt you, it can help you. We don't, right now, it's helping you a little bit,
It is.
but it's not, but
Well,
it could
you know
hurt you
what?
too.
You know, one thing it's helping us with more than anything is that it should have been an L. Should
Confidence.
have been a
Yeah,
loss.
it really
You
should
know,
have. It
so
should have.
the fact that it's not a loss helps this team because we
Yes.
really shouldn't have. We didn't deserve to tie that game.
No,
No, you
no,
So
didn't.
no. So I
no.
mean, our
Not anywhere close. Especially because the fact that you even tied it is ridiculous.
Oh, I agree.
our offense,
Absolutely.
our offense
To me,
played
that's
well though. That's the thing is our offense played well. Cam Newton looked great, and
Your
he
offense looked like a college offense. I'm going to be honest with you.
It did. I mean, but what does
17
that
carries
say?
for 107 yards.
What does
in
that
the
say
world?
about Cincinnati's defense?
That they can't handle mobile quarterbacks, which
That they
they
can't
haven't.
handle college offenses. Is what
But
you
why
Pretty
don't we
much.
just say this? It didn't look like a college offense because it looked like Cam Newton in the Carolina Panthers jersey out there doing his thing. And
Yeah, it looked like a college offense.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just doing
Yeah.
his thing.
I mean,
So,
it is what it is,
East
man.
Carolina today.
I'm not,
East
I'm not trying to
Carolina.
be an ass here. It looked like a college offense. It was that zone read.
Yep.
It was,
And
it was the
killed
zone read, and he was
Cincinnati.
destroying it that way. Posey Whitaker and Darren Reeves look awful right now. Like, I don't. Running backs were a strength for the Panthers going into the season.
Not
Now
anymore.
that they're on like their 9th and their 10th running back,
I think Fozzie looked
it's going to
okay.
look awful.
our running backs performed when they got the ball. They just didn't carry it very much.
And they got hurt. Fozzie got hurt at the end.
They didn't carry it well.
They didn't
really
carry
didn't.
much.
Yeah, I would say
Their 17 carries went for 40 yards.
Yeah, which tells you a lot right
That's
there.
an under 2 yard per carry average.
Yeah.
right,
that's like
right. But here's the thing: is that when you just look at the stats, and if you didn't watch the game closely, in this fact is that a lot of that times doesn't mean it's always on the running back. If they're getting hit when they're
Because your offensive line sucks, like I said before the season.
right, but that doesn't mean that the running backs are bad. It just means that at times our offensive line gets blown up like little girls.
Well, Cam dropped back 42, 46 times this game and didn't get one sack.
Yeah,
Because
well that
because the Bengals pass rush is worse than the Falcons.
No,
Mhm.
they got Geo.
Yeah, I don't know about
That's
that.
some bull. That's no. They got Gino
Gino's
Atkins.
still hurt, and then outside of
Yeah,
Carlos Dunlap, who they were doubling all game,
Mm-hmm.
which is the only way you actually handle Carlos Dunlap.
And
You know
then
what it
outside of
was?
him,
Is that, look, if Cam Newton plays like this, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this. If Cam Newton continues to play, and I'm not talking about just being running the zone read and being like awesome all the time. It just needs to be part of the arsenal. If that's part of his arsenal and his completion percentage stays where it's at, he continues to play smart without turning the ball over. This is what we drafted Cam Newton to be.
But that also renders you predictable. You know what I mean? If you know he's busting that zone read out, you're gonna be you're gonna render yourself predictable, and somebody's gonna shut that down. Smart defense coordinator will figure that out and get that snuffed out, and then where are you then?
yeah, well, if they're shutting that down, then that's opening something else up.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
And Cam Newton is progressing as a passer.
Yes, you have to admit that. You have to admit that his passing abilities have progressed from where they were.
It is. But my feeling is that 9 times 10 they're relying on the zone read and everything like that. Even though it opens something else up, 9 times 10 the other team probably not scared of it. You know what I mean? And you guys don't have confidence in it because you're not even using it as part of the offensive arsenal.
This was the first game he really broke out the zone read, though. This was the first game he did that, and it's
He's
something
finally
now.
healthy.
It's something now that offenses have to consider. I mean, defenses have to consider. The defensive coordinators have to factor in to their game plan now. So, I think it's a great thing. I know you both are anti-Panthers, and I totally understand that.
Well,
I
we're
totally
supposed to be.
understand that.
We're supposed to be. Sorry.
Yeah, you are. Like I said, I totally understand that. But I think it's a good thing for Carolina. You know, it's a very good thing in many different ways.
I
Hmm.
mean, I think the fact is that we put up 37 points with no running backs, with a terrible offensive line, and with all new receivers says who then is responsible for that.
Well, who do you give the
And
credit to then?
it's certainly not Mike Shula, right? So
Right,
it's Cam Newton. I
right.
mean, a process of elimination. So I've been very impressed with that. What speaking of going forward in this division, if Atlanta's going to fall apart, which we haven't seen anything else otherwise that's going to suggest this, and it is between the Saints and the Panthers. Is what if you guys mentioned Calvin Johnson not playing this week? Will Jimmy Graham play?
He will not. Jimmy Graham is out. But, I mean, Ben Watson in some spots can take his spot. But also Josh Hill, who actually has become a really good receiving tight end. This last few weeks here, Drew has been going to him. So, I mean, I think they can take up slack that way. Number two, Mark Ingram is coming back. So now they basically got the three-headed monster back on the running game. So if they can, if they run the ball, if they run the ball 20, 30 times in a game, they win it. They'll be undefeated, and you know that's gonna happen. So I think I mean, the run game has been pretty strong for them this year. I still think they need to feature it a little more. And number two, the one thing I hope they really straighten out is with Brandon Cooks. Right now they've been using him on double reverse to shorter passes. I would like to see them use him to stretch the field. This dude got a lot of speed. Him and another was Joe Morgan. I want them to take Joe Morgan out of there and use those two to stretch the field, trying to take some goal routes and go use them for the long balls. Because I think Robert Meacham, I don't understand why they're even using Robert Meacham. Robert Meacham should be on the sideline, personally, myself. But with me, he wouldn't see the field very often, and that's me. So, I mean, I think if
Imagine,
they do that and stretch the field, that opens it up underneath for them.
imagine playing the Saints without Jimmy Graham. Isn't that night like such a blessing?
Not really.
I
I
wish.
think somebody shows up. I think now don't get me wrong. That might help Detroit to relax a little bit because they're not as worried about it. So they don't double team guys. There's a shot there. Maybe some other stuff opens up. So
No, you just
I mean,
double team Brandon Cooks instead of Jimmy
they
Graham.
can compensate them, huh?
Just double team Brandon Cooks instead of Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably double team Cooks, or I mean, they don't have to double team Holston really.
Yeah, you don't really have to double Colston because Colston's older and doesn't have the burst he once did.
Yeah, he's on the decline.
He's the Roddy White
He
of
is.
the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, basically. Roddy White's been on decline for a couple years now, and he's finally he is what he is at this point.
Right.
Right, exactly.
He's
And
good
that's
Falcon.
Colston's the same way.
Okay, so who's got a home game this week?
No
I
more.
don't think anybody has.
Maybe the Bucks.
The Bucks. Is everybody else on the road?
No, hold on. Tampa
Bucks-
Bay's on a bye, so they're
Yeah,
going to lose.
okay.
And that's it.
And then everybody else is on the road.
Wow,
Man,
a road.
everybody's got a tough
On the
opponent.
road again. You get away to get on the road again.
Y'all are going to hate me for doing my predictions, so I'm just going to do them real quick. And then
Go for it. Go ahead.
All right. Baltimore is going to beat Atlanta 35-12. Detroit's going to beat New Orleans, even without Calvin Johnson, because that defense in New Orleans is scary bad. And Detroit's got a really good defense.
They do. They do.
They've got a really good defense.
But it's mostly their front seven in there. It's
Jimmy
their
Graham.
front seven, not their secondary as much.
Well, yeah, but New Orleans doesn't have Jimmy Graham either. So
I
that
agree.
makes it a little tougher on them. And then I do think that Carolina's going to have a tough time against Green Bay, and I think they'll lose a close one.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Who'd you say, Atlanta?
Oh, Atlanta's going to be
Baltimore.
destroyed.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Well, I'm picking the home team in all 3 games. I'm predicting the division to go 0-3.
The truth, you know.
And I feel like that's the realist talking. Atlanta's going to get
Yes.
demolished. New Orleans is going to
Yes.
lose by like a touchdown. And then Carolina's going to lose by like a field goal.
Greg, how do you feel about that?
Woo. Well, I mean, let's say it like this. Okay, he's right because right now, neither one of our three, none of the 3 teams between the Saints or even the Bucks for that matter, none of the 4 teams in the South have played well on the road. So it's easy to say that if they're on the road, it's almost black and white. If they're on the road, they're probably going to lose, and if they're at home, they may win. But I think New Orleans. What I'm hoping on, and I'm going to go with New Orleans on against Detroit because one, they had a week to rest. They got a bye week here. They had a chance to maybe get a few kinks out. Let's hope they did because they got a really good shot to make a run here. In for this division. I mean, this thing is like they're pretty much dead in the race.
Yes.
So they're definitely they're right in the race, and so hopefully they got a little bit of kinks out and they got the offense back on sync. It's hard to say that offenses are out of sync when you look at their record. But I mean, when you look at their rating, what they're ranking in rushing and passing, but they're out of sync. I mean, they're very out of sync. And hopefully they got some of the defense just to get the fundamentals. To me, just tackling. So if they get those things straight, I think New Orleans beats Detroit. Because like I said, I do think Detroit's Jekyll and Hyde, and hopefully we'll see Mr. Hyde instead of Dr. Jekyll.
Mm-hmm.
And and they may actually have a bad game here. So I say New Orleans beats Detroit. Right now, Baltimore has just been torching the NFC South. I can't even. They've torched the NFC South.
I'm calling the revenge of Steve Smith, 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then never have to play him again.
Yeah, they've. I mean, I even hate to face them, and I know we got to eventually ourselves.
Yes.
But but they've been torching people, so I can't give Atlanta much of a chance, and I think Atlanta just emotionally down about their play and just everything that's going on. And then as far as Carolina against Green Bay, you're playing in Green Bay, you're on the road. I think Green Bay wins that game. I think that's their boost right there. If you were at home, I'd probably almost lean to you, but I think that Green Bay beats you. I think it's close. I think it's about a field goal because I think, Green Bay is not necessarily a powerhouse at this point, but they can eke out enough a close win in that game. So I think this time the kicker makes the field goal, unlike last week.
Oh well, yeah, Joey. What Greg has been saying is he's been saying the same thing for the whole season about New Orleans Saints and them tackling.
Yes.
I have been each week picking the Saints, expecting them to be the Saints that everybody wanted the Saints to be each week. I'm like, man, they can't be this bad. They got to win. They got to win. They got to win. I'm sick of it. Joey, how do you feel? Are they going to start tackling?
No. They're not. They haven't to this point in the year. We're 6 weeks into the season, and they haven't started tackling yet. So no, it's not going to change. They might be able to get the running game going. That might be something that will be to their advantage, and they might be able to pound the rock and nullify some of the pass rush of Detroit. So that could be their saving grace. I just think. They've lost a lot. They've lost some leadership on the defensive side. They've lost some talent back there, and
I don't think.
Losing Jarius Byrd, that hurts. Yeah, that hurts. So I think, I don't see the tackling all of a sudden start happening. I just don't see it.
I'm with Joe on that talent issue and the Bird. That actually hurting is that I listened to the Saints chatter after he got the injury, and I've heard, oh, well, the next guy, the next man in, the next man in, and he's good, and he got talent, and he just needs an opportunity.
Bush is
Um,
different. Big decent.
right, but you know what, Joey? That sounds like what the Carolina Panthers said when Greg Hardy isn't out there. We want to keep saying it's the next man up, it's the next man up, and that these guys, they all have wonderful talent when they're on the bench.
Right.
And so, I mean, maybe, and I think that Joe might be right, is that Bird thing, like, wow, you can actually play somebody in and they're going to play well. That's just a big loss in general.
Right,
Um,
because you lose experience, you lose the leadership, like I said, you lose a lot more than just the player in his
I agree.
case.
Yeah, you're losing a ball hawk. You're losing a guy who generally is a ball hawk, a
Right,
known ball hawk, even
right.
though he hasn't played it the last few games. He's generally known as a guy who can turn the ball over and everything like that. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he,
Yeah.
like I said,
And,
Bush is decent, but Bush, I mean, don't get me wrong. Bird is an upgrade compared to Bush, but Bush
sure.
is fairly solid as a player. Let's put it at that.
Right. Well, and these are just theories. This is my theory. That's your theory. It'll all come to fruition, come
Exactly.
Sunday out on the field.
It will.
Um,
Joey, are you going to Detroit?
I am. I'm going to Detroit at home just because they are in the Motor City. You know, they'll have the crowd supporting them. They'll have the backing of the crowd. So I think that'll be enough. Detroit in a close one.
I'm going Detroit as well, and it really has nothing. I'm just so sick of picking the Saints. Actually expecting them to do it, and then they don't. So right now, you're dead to me. uh, Joey,
Okay. What's
I put, I put you down for Baltimore. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Baltimore. I'm gonna go Detroit, and then of course I'm gonna go Carolina. You know, yesterday in our Cat Chronicles podcast, we had Justin in, who is a Packers writer for Bleacher Report, and he gave us some real good insight. And the Packers have some offensive and defensive line concerns, and I think the interior offensive line in particular is where he said the main concerns were, and that's good for us because K'Wan Short has been really coming on the last couple of weeks, and we need Star Lutulele to step up and get back to old form. So the fact that he's going up against sort of a second team interior offensive line, that's good for us. And then
Wow.
he said that Tannehill was running the ball effectively against the defense in that Miami game last week. And his concern was, he was thinking, well, at least we don't have to worry about the Panthers running the read option with Cam because they haven't done it all year. And as he's saying this, he's watching the Panthers game and seeing Cam running the read option. So he's like, oh, crap. So I think I like our chances in Green Bay. Yes, Green Bay is a hard place to win, no matter what. No matter who's quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, no matter who's hurt, it's a tough place to win. So we do have our work cut out for us, but I think we're able to squeak it out somewhere. I'm thinking score will be somewhere around 27-24, 27-23 Panthers.
Question for you: when did K'Wan Short turn into his college self?
I know, right? He's
Like,
he's been coming on good the last couple of weeks.
well, here's the thing. I love when I give a guy like a mid-first round grade, and then they just demolish it in the NFL, even if it is for like someone else.
Yeah, man, he's
K'Wan
been
Short
playing.
he was my 17th best player in that draft,
Mm-hmm,
and Starr was my 4th or 5th.
mm-hmm.
And I think Starr's probably been fighting an injury or two. That or they're just double teaming the crap out of him.
Well, I know that for sure. They've been double teaming the crap out of him, but I do think he's had something dinged up that has been slowing him down.
Well, he's not a negative in your defense right now because he's eating. He and Short are eating, which is allowing Keegley to eat.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you've got two really good defensive tackles,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, it doesn't matter who you put out there, middle linebacker,
Yeah.
they're at least going to look above average.
Yes.
That's true. That's very true.
And when they've got some talent like Kuechly does, they're going to look all pro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He
especially
definitely-
like you're saying, you can see it on the reverse just as well. You can see a good linebacker in the middle look really bad or mediocre when they don't have that help up front. Which we
Yes.
saw
Yeah, those
in
teams are Atlanta
Carolina
and
with
New
Thomas
Orleans right now.
Davis and Beeson.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how
And
Atlanta and New
Kuechly's
Orleans are
first
right this second.
Kuechly's first year, he didn't have any good defensive tackle help. So as good as he played, without really the defensive tackle help, what does that tell you?
And we
He was
had
average his first year.
Well, he only had like 150 or 180 tackles, something crazy like that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he
Yeah,
was.
he had a lot of tackles. I'm just
Yes.
saying, like, as far as
He
like
had a
overall
sick-
play, outside of
he had a
one
very-
really
he had
good
a
game against
noteworthy-
Oakland, he was average.
He had a noteworthy offensive season, rookie year.
Yes.
You
But
know,
he really excelled year 2 when they got Tulele and Short in front of him. He
Yeah,
really excelled.
I mean, if
Yeah.
we're talking tackles here, you can have a lot of tackles on a bad defense, even if you're an average player. Let's look at Paul Warlow. He's on pace for 170 tackles.
That's a good year.
Yeah, it is.
Tackle wise, it's a good year.
Warlow's a worker. He's a good player. I do like him.
I like Warlow too. It's just he needs someone in front of him to play like they're someone in front of him.
Right. He needs somebody to eat up some blockers in front of him.
Yeah. I mean, true. If you can get that nose tackle or that lineman who can eat up 2 blockers, it helps the linebackers big time to
For sure.
How about Kamal Ishmael? 2 games into starting is already the Falcons' second leading tackler. And on
Wow.
pace 96.
That guy's all over the place.
That's pretty good there. That's very
or
good.
the guys ahead of him that started before him
Oh,
were
really bad.
Yeah.
matadors.
White Lowry
Yeah,
who should be
matadors.
starting.
Yeah. What do you think about?
How about William Moore?
Yeah, he's coming back, isn't he? Or is he back yet?
He's got another 5 weeks.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay. I thought. Why did I think there's something about him being back? But I'm not bad. Maybe I'm wrong there.
He's gone.
So
Tony, who are your picks, Tony?
I have Baltimore. I've got Detroit,
of
and
course he got
I don't know. I worry. I think that this could be a trap game for Green Bay, an opportunity.
Is it a trap game?
I'm trying to figure out what part of the trap game is.
Trap game's when a good team plays a bad team.
Yeah. That's not a trap game.
4-2 and a really good team.
Yeah.
They're not a bad team.
They're not a
You're
bad
going
team.
into a good Green Bay's team. And
Talking
like
about
it's
a
a
trap
good
game
Green Bay
for
team.
Bay.
Okay, they played
And you've got a
Minnesota.
good
Let's look.
team.
Green Bay has played Minnesota. Okay, they got
Yeah.
6 sacks against Minnesota. 6 sacks. Okay?
Yeah.
Plus I think 2
You
interceptions.
also had Christian Ponder at quarterback.
Right.
That's why you got sacks.
Yeah, if Atlanta had Christian Ponder at quarterback when they played Minnesota, I guarantee you they probably would have had like 8 sacks, and people would have been like, "Oh, they've got a pass rush."
So my point is, okay, they played one of their wins was against Minnesota, who's not a very good team.
I mean, hell, you can add the 4 of us and 7 other guys, and we'll sack Christian Ponder.
Sorry, they lost. So they lost to Seattle, which happened in
Yeah, that's
Seattle.
understandable. Yes.
All right, they beat the Jets. They lost in Detroit in a division game. Understandable. They destroyed the Bears. They destroyed
Mhm.
the
The
Vikings.
Viking.
They had a hide game against the Dolphins and still won in the end because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So,
That was a heck of a drive downfield.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL today.
What I believe, though, is that I believe that Green Bay was starting to really get a good feel for their team, And I think that the Panthers, who have been hanging in there and taking blows at this point, might catch somebody that's trying to catch some wind at this moment, and maybe the Green Bay is sucking on air a little bit, and we can capitalize upon that. That's what I do hope for. But here's the thing: is that Aaron Rodgers, if he has the opportunity to beat Aaron Rodgers, we lose this game.
Yeah,
So
you get
that,
demolished.
yeah, I mean, even if we play well, he's going to be able to. Even if our secondary plays well, Joey, he's going to be able to do damage on it. Like
Yeah.
if they play better than they should, the problem is there's a chance that they don't play at all and that they're terrible. So if that could be, I feel like it could be something like this, like maybe what Joey's saying, a close kind of match. The Panthers might be able to sneak one out with a late field goal or something
Hmm.
like that,
Exactly what I'm thinking.
or it could be a blowout
Right.
and the Panthers, it gets out of hand early.
Justice said something yesterday that Aaron Rodgers, if he has the choice, he will bypass an underneath route to try to get something deep. So he tends to throw the ball late into the play. All
And
right.
he
So
will gladly attack your secondary
yes.
and Antoine K-Stone
Oh,
and all
So
those guys
so
that had some good games against some bad teams.
so I go back to K1 Short and Star Lutale having big games. They're going to have to get that pressure up the middle and force him to get rid of the ball before he wants to if we're going to stay in this.
but you gotta remember, he's
Really,
mobile. He's
Aaron
mobile.
Rodgers
He's
has
mobile.
that
He can move that
Breeze
pocket.
frustration about him. He's
He
got
does.
that, like he's gonna sit in that pocket
Mm-hmm.
and then, oop, oop, you can't tackle him in the
No.
pocket. He's gonna sit there and he's just gonna matrix these guys all day because that's what he does.
He does do that, but we have to when we get when we get that pressure in on him, we have to get to him. We can't bypass him, slide off of him. We can't afford to do that. If we want to win this game, that's what it's going to take. Because if he can sit back there and pick us apart, he will do just that, and it'll be a 30-point loss.
And
Okay,
it'll be fun to watch.
this is this is where I think Joey has is
Plan to
convincing
watch
me.
that too.
The reason that I like what Joey's saying is we got to add in another person who had a very good game last week against Cincinnati, and that's Charles Johnson.
Hmm.
So we see Charles Johnson, if he's resurging and just at least playing better than he played in the first 4 games, if he's playing better and he's playing at like what he did in Cincinnati, who supposedly had a strong offensive line at that point, that they were Cincinnati was among the top performers, I believe, in offensive line performance prior to last week. And our defense, Joey, is in the dumps. I mean, it's like when you look at it statistically, it's terrible. It's at the bottom
Awful.
of the league.
Yeah.
And so what heartens me in this case and what encourages me is that our offense has played far beyond what we thought they were capable of in many ways. They have outperformed our expectation. So as long as if the defense can improve some, if they can move statistically from 28, 26, 25 to the 17, 16, 15 marks in defensive production, all of a sudden you got a team that's a lot better than they've played to this point. So
Yes.
maybe we weather this storm a little bit, and I think that winning this Green Bay game is more realistic than is going to be a little bit easier than beating Seattle.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Even on the road, even being on the road.
So both.
Yeah.
No, we're home
Well,
against
right now,
Seattle.
pretty
So
much
what really
so all the NFC South teams,
that,
especially us two.
yeah, is that, but Scott's right. At the end of the day, the ultimate deciding factor of this game is Aaron Rodgers, and does he just go off? And That's what it's going to take because they haven't run the ball at all this season. Eddie Lacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Lacy is non-existent. He's the invisible man. Their defense is vulnerable. So it's all on the passing attack. It's all on uh, Kevin Cobb, who's insanely awesome. Jordy Nelson, who is a really impressive receiver. So this isn't going to be an easy thing, but it's doable. I think it's possible. So I call Carolina because I'm a homer.
At least you admit it.
At least you admit it.
That's
I'll
pretty much
probably
it.
change by Friday.
Yeah, by Friday when you're doing the sports bar, you'll have a totally different scenario worked out.
Yeah, and that's what happens. On Fridays at 4 o'clock, I'm on this radio show on 1250 AM Pirate Radio in Greenville, North Carolina, and it's called The Sports Bar. And every Friday we talk about the Carolina Panthers as well as we make our picks for the week. And I changed my picks. I always change my picks from the podcast. So I think
you went 10-2 last week or 12-2.
the week before, not the I went 12-2. So, and then I got none of our picks right on the podcast.
What does that tell you?
All
Tells me
right.
everything we need to know.
I think that let's see. Are there any primetime matchups this week for our teams? No.
No, I think we're all like
Okay,
1 o'clock, 4
1
o'clock.
o'clock, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
the
mine's
Falcons
1 o'clock.
have the benefit of playing the opposite of prime time. You have to wake up at 9 in the morning next week.
Oh, because they'll be in the
Oh, when you
UK.
go to London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. While we're here,
Behind us?
before we finish, I want to ask one thing. Tony, I already know how you feel. I want to get Greg and Scott's input. Vontez Burfict got hit with a $25,000 fine today for some pretty dirty play. Do you think that's sufficient, or should there have been more?
Based on
What is this, a girls' game?
Not enough.
I grew up old school. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I've seen guys do a hell of a lot worse than twist a couple of ankles up in the damn pile. You know what I mean? So far as I'm concerned, at 25,000, that's fine. Whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. Probably most people probably think the guy should have been beheaded for twisting the ankle, especially the fans of the Panthers.
He should have. It's dirty. He should have been fined 100. Based on his contract, he can afford 100,000.
Right.
He got a $3-point-something million bonus.
And that's fine. I mean,
message to the league. Don't do that shit.
But that's the thing. That's what I think.
Yeah, but
Not the message to Burfict.
But it's
It's a
nothing
message
to
to the
do.
league.
I mean, he ain't the first. He just got caught.
No, he's not the first. Here's how I feel. I think that if the quarterback,
He ain't the first.
But if you do that, you deserve to have a message sent to
Right.
the entire league. You deserve to be the example. And Burfict is now known as the example for the dirty play. Give him a $100,000 fine
But okay,
because that's what you're at.
okay. But look at it like this. Okay, look at it like this. To me, in my viewpoint, like I said, I watched since the '70s, and God knows some of the crap they were doing under the piles there. What I'm thinking is that, okay, yeah, even if you do it at 100,000 and you make an example of them, I get that. At the same time, does that do the referees watch him more? You know what I mean? Do the other teams kind of fear him coming around when he's around? You know what I mean? Because you think about it, Sue built a reputation just off the half the stuff he did back in because you know what I mean. He built a reputation as a dirty player. That actually didn't turn out as bad for him as you think it would have.
When you say it's a reputation, yeah, it's a reputation because it was true.
right? It's not
You know,
like it
and
was.
don't have a
Right, it wasn't.
He was totally
Yeah, I mean that's.
a dirty player, and so is a Burfict. And so,
But he was also, but he was trying to add. But I understood what Sue was trying to do because he came into a team that went 0-16 for God's sakes, You know what I mean? He was trying to add some teeth to that defense. He was trying to actually make them fear it a little bit. And I think Burfict probably was trying to do the same thing in a way, because you got to look at it like this. 9 out of 10, Carolina's known as a nasty, kind of a little bit of a nasty defense at this point in time. Most people in their heads, they think of Carolina's a pretty tough defense and a brutal defense. Am I right? That's
Yeah, I
the
would agree
perception
with
you
that.
have of it.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. Because
Even though they, yeah,
Well, they did
even though they got their
last year.
teeth bashed in a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is that maybe he was just trying to, you know, let's say it like this. Maybe in his mind, I'm not saying it's right, but in his mind, he probably was thinking that he was making, he was trying to, in a way, make him look, look at him as being a little tougher. If they look at him as being dirty, then they're considered tougher. You know what I mean? And maybe
I
What
would
if
like to say, this is what I think of it.
Hey, Cow Turd, you are just. I don't even have a name for you anymore, except Cow Turd.
That's what I
Cow
think.
Turd.
I think if the quarterback's ankle he had twisted had been Tom Brady, he would have been suspended.
oh God, he'd be exiled from football.
Right. Okay. And then on top of that, the point I'm trying to make is, in addition to just twisting somebody's ankle, both of these guys were coming off of ankle injuries, so he was purposely trying to re-injure an injury.
But
You
nothing
understand what
new.
I'm saying?
That's nothing new in football.
No, it's not. But it's never so blatant, and it was so blatant and so obvious.
And don't get me wrong. I get it. I maybe sound a little bit insensitive, maybe a little. You know what I mean? Or maybe like I'm a tad dirty myself about this. But I'm just saying it's nothing new. Because if you got a quarterback that got a bad knee, or you got an offensive lineman that got a bad knee, what are you going to try to do? You're going to test that knee out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the whole key is to get key players out of their game. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you want to take that guy out because you think that's gonna help you in the long run. But that's part of the competition part. That's not dirty. Now I'm not saying that what he did was wrong, was right, but I'm just saying I guess for me it's like I just haven't. It's not like I haven't heard worse.
Sure.
Okay.
So that's all, and that's kind of what I'm thinking.
There's a couple of things I think that need to also be addressed about this. Is first that while this may have happened in the past, that the football is a different game than it was 20 years ago, what it was 15 years ago. The other thing is the amount of, and the reason football is a different game is because of the money. Is that it has become such an important economic entity in American society. So you have to make sure that you protect the shield, you protect the integrity of the game. And so while here's the thing is that if you live by the sword, then you've got to die by the sword. And while you might try to get a competitive advantage by twisting an ankle or doing something like this by cheating, essentially is what it is by cheating, that if you get caught, the penalty should be severe for this reason. And I think that he should have gotten a suspension for the game, for one game, because when you try when you intentionally try to injure someone, particularly somebody as valuable to the NFL as Cam Newton, that it's not in the NFL's interest for something like that to happen.
Mm-mm.
I get you because he's marquee and everything like that, and then if he was out for 6 weeks because he broke his ankle like that, then when it comes down to Monday Night Football, if they're playing a game on Monday Night Football and there's no Cam Newton, a lot of people probably won't watch it.
Right, and that's the thing. I think
that's what they're afraid of.
In addition to that, this is his first time being fined for something. He got 2 personal foul penalties in the game before any of this other stuff. Plus, like I said, his history is not one of a saint. Let's just put it that way.
He went undrafted because of stupid stuff that he did on the field in college.
Right.
But he should have been a first-round pick.
He was.
At the time. He was thought of as being by some draft board.
He was a third-round pick on the field. In college, he was a third-round pick.
Yeah.
He still shows the same deficiencies in coverage. He still shows the same deficiencies as a pass rusher.
he's the guy that I think that is playing a game of football in a way that may have previously been accepted or
Yes.
or uh, maybe dismissed or whatever you would say, ignored, overlooked. I thought of this.
It's a
I
little
was watching a documentary, or I was watching like 30 for 30 or whatever, one of those things on NFL Network or
Mhm.
something like that, and it was on Sean Taylor.
Yeah. It was a football life.
A Football Life, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he could have been so
And
damn good.
Oh, he was amazing.
and that's the kind
Yeah.
of the thought that comes to mind with a guy that plays the way they're going to play. You know what? Is he's going to play this game when it comes to particularly money? If
Hmm.
that's all the penalty is to him, he's not going to play the game any differently. He's just going to
No,
keep
but
doing this.
he'll do it again. And next time they may find him 100,000. Maybe next time they just suspend him.
They
And I
said to
don't.
him, they said next time he gets in trouble for something like this, he's going to New York to meet at the league offices.
Yeah, because I'm shocked that he didn't anyway. Because the way Goodell right now, I mean, Goodell he's got enough going on as it is. You shocked that the fact that he did that he wasn't suspended. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. I mean, just understand it, just the regime we have and how things work now at
Right.
this point. But
Who
and like
made
I said, I
that
guess to me, like I said,
decision right now?
I just don't see. It's a story. It's just not. It's not that big. It's not as big of a story to me.
Like I said,
And
had it been Tom Brady, it would be another story.
yeah, and that's still not as big a story to me. But I get, and don't get me wrong, Tom Brady, the dude probably would have been exiled. He probably can't even get into the league for a year.
Can't go into stadiums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so much buy a ticket. Sorry,
Right.
Mr. Burfict, you're not allowed in the stadium.
Who made that decision for the $10,000? What was it? 25,000?
Yeah,
25,000.
Who made that
Probably
decision?
Gene Washington, Gene Washington, or Arshell, or whoever it is, one of the guys who run that. I'm pretty sure it's one of them.
So why is it that in this case they make that decision, but in like the Ray Rice case or the Justin Hardy, I mean not Justin Hardy, Greg Hardy, that
Greg Hardy.
that that Goodell has so much influence? Like, does this imply that the NFL needs a committee to rule on infractions?
It already needs a committee to rule on
It,
infractions.
Mm-hmm.
Having Goodell be the
Yeah.
only one to do it.
should have been had one. Yeah, they should have had one.
No, I
I mean,
think
but at this point, it's pretty much run. Huh?
Goodell has too much autonomy. You know what I'm saying? He's out there playing the
But the players let them have it. The players let them have it.
yeah.
That's the problem.
He's out there being judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah,
Well,
and the players
yeah,
let
I
them
mean,
have it in the CBA.
I think the penalty should have been stiffer for the fact that he was caught. And that's the thing is that you might do this stuff, but when you get caught, and you got to pay for it. And I think it should have been a little bit more. I thought this was malicious. I thought it was an intent to injure. And coming from a team that got very
I don't disagree.
penalized from a team, Bountygate, the New Orleans Saints, you guys paid dearly for the same type of thing. Is the only difference
Yeah,
between what supposedly the Saints did and what Burfict did is that they made a game of it. But Burfict is doing
yeah,
that
but no,
internally.
but the Saints the Saints never ever advocated twisting the guy's ankle in the pile. They didn't do anything like that.
Exactly what
Basically,
they
all
did.
it was is that if they got a quarterback sack and knocked the guy out, then they would get paid for it. You know what I mean? That type of thing. If they hit the running back, and most times they weren't saying dirty hits, they were saying clean hits. But it was just a contest of it. It's no different. I worked in the car business just like Scott. When you guys sell cars, don't you guys have a car every once in a while that may be a used car or something like that that they can't move off the lot, and they'll actually pay an extra bonus to get that car off of it, out of there. So they do that, and they'll target that car because they want to get that car out of there. Maybe it's been there for a couple of 100 days, and I know this. I know this because I was in those meetings.
We've got that.
Huh?
We got a couple of armadas like that because no one buys those things when gas is at
Exactly. Exactly. And that's no different than the bounty program, and essentially, in a sense where but you may target, if you knock out a receiver, if you knock out a quarterback, if you put him out, we'll give you an extra couple of $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is, and that's basically what it is. I mean, because everybody knows every defense player is going to knock out the quarterback. It's simple as that. You know what I mean? And so Vontaze Burfict, in a sense, didn't do anything that everybody wasn't trying to do. He just went a little dirty and got caught.
Yep. So I think you should have gotten a suspension. All right.
Well, because that's your quarterback. If they did that to Phillip Rivers, we wouldn't have this on the show.
What if they did that to Drew Brees?
You know it.
Ask him again.
What if they did that to Drew Brees?
And they did it, you know what? And that's the thing too. At the same time, I'm not going to ask for a suspension of the guy. I mean, I don't go that extreme because I understand it as part of the game, and I get that. You know what I mean? If they hurt Drew, would I want more? Would I want them to be suspended more? Probably. But at the same time, I also understand that if they don't, it is what it is. You just still got to, because I always look at it like this is a game of opportunity. If your quarterback goes out, the next guy got to come up and do it. It's just simple as that. Or if he doesn't do it, then he didn't deserve to be there. You know what I mean? When Brady got knocked out, Matt Castle came in and actually he didn't get him to the playoffs, but he did get him to a decent record and played well. But it created opportunity for him to go get a big contract in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just like this. It was an opportunity for him. Don't get me wrong, he didn't do much with it. And I'm not saying that everything turned out all roses and sunshine for Matt Castle. But at the same time, it created an opportunity for him that he would have never gotten if Tom Brady never gotten hurt.
You know what Greg is saying, Joey? Is he's saying that when opportunity comes a knocking, you got to take it. And that's
Absolutely.
What they did. That's
if I had a free shot, if I was playing on the field, I had.
Yeah, but this is what you guys did when the 49ers. Do you remember when the 49ers touched Drew Brees and they just touched him and they called a personal foul penalty against him? And
yeah, I agree with that. And don't get me wrong. Look, no, because you didn't ask my opinion on that. I remember this. Here it goes. My feeling was on that one my feeling was that if he don't give, only reason, like I said, the penalty they probably could have not had the penalty. I could see if they could not called it, and the reason why I say that but the fact that they touched the face mask, the referees are going to call that every time, and that was the problem. It wasn't as much to hit itself. It wasn't as much to hit itself. Now, other people probably had a heart attack over it. Thought the guy.
I thought this was the neck incident.
I think it was the neck. It was the neck, but it was
It
was above the shoulders. Was there?
Yeah, because
he was penalized.
He went around his neck, but he hit tackling. He hit that face mask.
You know what?
So that's why they called penalties.
I gotta tell
but
Scott
I could have.
What I'm just trying to say is that opportunity in that case was was taking the penalty, you know what I mean? And like, so if this is just about opportunity, then bad calls are cool. I mean, I think that you should be. I think that it happens, but they shouldn't, and we should try to eliminate it as much as possible and reduce it.
I can think of many times that Saints got hosed on calls over the years.
Oh, you guys
and,
get all the flag.
You know, it just happened.
Yes.
Byron Bell got a penalty in, I think it was the Cincinnati game or maybe the game before. Who did we play before that, Joey?
We played
the Bears.
Bears, thank you.
Bears.
It was the Bears. It was the Bears. Yeah, it was the Bears.
He got a penalty, and when you look at the replay, the referee threw the flag because he actually blocked. He was so stunned. He was so stunned. He threw a penalty and called him for hands to the face, and his hands were nowhere near the face. He just was blocking. And
Oh,
They
you mean
will
like the helmet to helmet that happened on Roddy White? Was it the same referee? Was it Walt
Yeah.
Anderson? The helmet to helmet that happened on Roddy White that should have been called. The pass interference on Roddy White that should have been called. The late hit on Paul Warlow because they didn't whistle the play dead until after he had already smacked the shit out of Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they called the fair. They threw the flag, called the false start. By the time the flag had landed,
Yeah.
Warlow was already helmet deep into
On the quarterback. Yeah, he was. Yes,
Right
he
there.
was.
He lit
Well,
up.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean,
That was
the
well
calls are
timed.
going to happen. The bad calls are going to happen, man.
How do you stop in that situation? You're jumping the snap.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop in that situation. You jump the snap. You've already gotten past the people you need to get past. There's really nothing you can do. And then by the time he realizes the play is done, he's already, again, he's helmet deep into Cutler's chest, and he's like, well, shit. Bam!
At this point.
Might as well finish it now.
Let's do it. Destroy him, hit the quarterback
Yep.
like you want to.
you got
Yeah,
flagged
you might as
because
well.
you actually got a pass rush. That's what it was.
That entire game, the Falcons actually had a pass rush, which was, again, I'm as shocked as you are. They had 3 sacks in a game. 3.
Wow.
Like the most they had all season.
The same game?
Yes, the same game.
Same.
Wow. Scott, I like your t-shirt.
18 quarterback hurries.
Where did you get that one at? That t-shirt?
This one,
Yeah.
work.
I think that's awesome. That
Me
is
too.
Awesome.
I miss
worked
the old
for
dots and
Amazon
ties.
dealer, and then I won a contest for a secret shopping thing from corporate. So they
Yeah.
gave me $100 gift certificate to the store.
To the
So-
Nissan store?
Yeah, to the Nissan store online. Like, there's like a Nissan corporate store that only employees can get this kind of stuff at.
I see. That's very cool. Very cool.
So,
Yeah,
All right. I'm ready.
I was noticing that earlier too.
Yeah, we've run over half an hour, guys. So
Yeah.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
All right, Scott, say sayonara.
sayonara. No, I'm Scott Karasik. I run Draft Falcons. I also write for Bleacher Report about the Falcons. And hopefully we win, but I have a feeling I'm going to open up next week going, haha, we suck again.
very nice.
Moving on.
To the Greg, you're next.
All right, I'm Greg Barber, of course, at heavy.com. You can contact me at IntenseGB. Feel free to follow me. Definitely happy to have you. And hasta la vista, baby.
Nice. Joe, tell us what few hours a day we can contact you.
Yeah, please don't contact me after 11. I
Brian,
only,
It was like 47.
I like to be contacted between the hours of 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. All right, I am the freaking Puerto Rican, and you better recognize is all I'm saying. You can catch me on Twitter between the hours of 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. at Joe Rilano. And, like I said, I'm here repping the Panthers. The black and blue crew is going to put a hurting on you today.
That's the truth, is that we're going today and we're pulling one out. It's the professor bringing you the Southbound and Down podcast every Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. Check us out. Check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com on Tuesday nights for the C3 podcast, where we talk all things Carolina Panthers and we joke on these jokers when they're not watching. With that said, we're going to go ahead and sign it on out here and just say good night.
Who did that?